Welcome back, everyone. It's been a while since I've done a uranium related video, but something came up and there was something that I wanted to say a few words about, and that is the forecasts that have been that have popped up over the years, and they all seem to, most of them have the same mistake. And even though they're professionally done and are from places that would normally be backed with credibility, um, there's a common error in, most of the forecasts that I've seen, and I just wanted to address that, what it is, how to spot it, and so forth. So I first wanted to say that there are some forecasts out there that have plausible numbers. So obviously we'll have to see if any is correct. Obviously, even the ones that I don't think are correct could be. That said, most of the forecasts you can tell which in about, 5 seconds really, if you know what you're looking for. They have the same thing that is just highly unlikely to be proven accurate. And this video is going to show what that is and explain why. Okay, so how do you tell if you're looking at one of the forecasts that I'm talking about that has the same error as many of the rest? Well, it's very simple. Look at the 2022-2023 price forecast. Most of the time it's in between $30 and $40, depending on if we're talking spot or term, or if someone wants to give it their own special twist in terms of price forecasting. Now, okay, let's say it's under $40. You then look at the supply from 2022. And if it's higher than the approximately 140 million pounds in 2019, then the forecast is likely wrong because it is not combining price and price response. Now, the reason why the forecast will not be super useful if it has both of those things that I mentioned is because the increase in supply likely, unless there's some secret 18 million pound a year North American mine that I don't know about, you don't know about, no one knows about except the people making this forecast. In any other case, the difference is MacArthur River, and the market eventually will need it online. Now, the thing is, unless Cameco decides that they have tried making money a little bit for a while and they really don't like it and they want to go back to losing money, then they're probably going to need at least $45 plus contracts before they reopen the mine. And once they make that decision, people could argue 6 months, people could argue 2 years, but realistically, it's probably 9 to 18 months to get it up and running. It'll depend how long it remains shut down to give the exact timing. So if they wanted to have it online in 2022, well, they would need to start that much before 2022, which means they'd need the prices of 45 plus, maybe today, maybe 3 months ago. Either way, if the price is only $40 in 2022 and you're expecting this back online, we have a problem. Meaning, if I were making a forecast and I were saying that I believed MacArthur River would be back online in 2022, I would have the price at least 45, probably 50, probably today, and then I would move forward at 50, maybe for a few years. But the point is, you need the price at the very least at a minimal level to get the mine back online. And if you don't have that, forget about now, but if you don't have that even then, it's just not happening. The paradox in forecasting is that you could either have the price forecast be accurate or you can have the production forecast be accurate, but you can't have both. Don't get me wrong. I understand why this problem exists. I call it the John Borshoff logic problem, in that the capacity right now is greater than the current production because MacArthur and some other production is shut in. But the problem is the current capacity isn't the same as the current production. The current production is lower. And so while the current capacity might mean that we have enough productive capacity now, when you look forward at when the current capacity would be in full production, at that point, the capacity is less than it is right now. And is it enough? Well, depends how long it takes for things to start up. Because in the near term, we have Cominac and Ranger that are depleted in less than a year. Actually, it's less than 10 months now, ish, for both of them. So by the time MacArthur is back online, even if it was $100 today, we wouldn't get them online tomorrow. So by the time that the current capacity is, well, we're using all of current capacity, the landscape is different. And with all that said, I think that it would be a much more interesting discussion if today we were $50 and then we had to discuss, well, who's responding when, with how much supply. But again, that's not what these forecasts are saying is happening. They're saying that the price is going to stay low and then supply is going to come back. And that doesn't look like what's likely to happen. And I say this because it's the bulk of the supply coming back is Cameco, and many of these things have Kazatomprom bringing back supply, even though they said they were not going to ramp up supply. We'll have to see if that happens one way or the other. But the point is, Cameco, they have some current production, and so they're not like in a rush to break even at cash cost because they're over indebted and they need to uh, make any money they can. No, they're not some company that they're not fighting to not shut down a mine because they're underwater and they have debt to pay. They're not desperate. They have an asset that the market's going to need, and they can use that asset to make money. So I don't think they're in some big rush. Now, that said, if someone thinks I'm being too critical about this type of forecast, or they made some type of forecast and believe this is accurate, I would love to have a discussion of what they're thinking is happening and why they think it's going to play out like that. That said, I haven't really found anyone that is willing to defend a forecast like this. Not that they have to. I mean, everyone has their opinion, and that's fine. I just don't see it playing out like that. Now, there's a few more comments that I wanted to make about some of these forecasts. Again, some, not all. But many of them have Kazakhstan increasing their production. Now, Kazatomprom said they wouldn't do that. They said that they're happy with their current market share and that a number of things a number of times. But, I mean, they may. So this is a big we'll see. So I don't want to fight on someone's opinion that they're not being forthright with that information. So, I mean, we'll see on that. Another thing is, another point, Cominac and Ranger depleting, like I said, within the year. At present, there's not really anything that's going on that will work at replacing them, and I don't think it will start anyone will start moving to replace them at these prices. Again, we probably need, it looks like many of them are using Husab to increase production in Africa, and it looks like many are thinking that Honeymoon will restart in Australia. Thing is, Boss talks about $50 before we see production, and they also talk about 2022. So it's interesting that many of these things have it starting maybe next year, and that much lower prices. Again, we'll see. We can discuss merits of whatever, but in the end, we'll see. And I also disagree with many of the demand numbers and many of the forecasts, but again, we won't know this for years. Now, I've said a number of times through this video, we'll see, and we will. That said, if prices remain low, I'm best guessing we'll see that MacArthur won't be back. But that's been the same guess for years. And if we look at older models, and I really suggest you do this if you're questioning what I'm saying or just for fun, really, you could look at old supply and demand models, old projections. Go back to early 2018, and you see the models have MacArthur River coming back in 2019. Then you look later in 2018, you have MacArthur River coming back in 2020. And then last year, some of the models have it coming back in 2021. And now we're at 2022. The point is, the price hasn't moved, and people still keep projecting, oh, it's just around the corner that MacArthur reopens. And I'm saying, well, people have said this long before me, but no, not at these prices. The only other thing I wanted to say in this video that is tangentially linked to what I was talking about professionally done forecast is, I'm not going to go into specifics, but there are some people out there and some institutions or whatever that put out either interviews or research or whatever, and they say things that are very different from what their portfolio says. And some people are saying that either the price of uranium won't go up past a certain point, and then you look and they own stuff that is worthless if uranium doesn't go past that certain point. So I'm not exactly sure what their strategy is there. They might have one, but beware of what their motives also might be. They might be trying to sell something that's not making money in uranium. Basically, I don't want to go into specifics, but you do research for yourself. Check with a critical eye what they're saying, because they don't have they might have ulterior motives. So I'm not going to go into who I'm talking about, but I have some thoughts that are popping into my head, and I don't want to bash on anyone, but beware of some people that are value add in a number of areas that are people when it comes to uranium that I really have done. I've spent a lot of time in uranium. I've done a lot of research, and I've seen them say things that do not seem congruent with the reality of uranium that I'm living in. So I would just say, watch out for those people. I'm not saying that I'm right and they're wrong. Could be the opposite. They could be right. I could be wrong. But just look for yourself and try and make the critical decisions for yourself and not rely on anyone, myself included. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. As always, if you have any questions, comments, and want my opinion on something, that's fine. As always, I will try to get back to everyone who asks a question. Just be warned, I don't really want to go into details of naming names or anything with regards to the previous slide. But aside from that, if you have a question about a forecast or want to discuss something, by all means, comment section or send me a message. But with that, I wish everyone a great day, and until next time.